migrants and refugees. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Davies. And finally, Samara Freemark. She is the senior producer of the In the Dark podcast from 8 p.m. Reports. So she's representing our public radio universe here. She's a reporter and producer at American Public Media, one of the largest public radio organizations in the nation. She's also the co-creator and senior producer of In the Dark, an investigative journalism podcast whose first season explored the investigation into the kidnapping of Jacob Wetterling in Minnesota in 1989. In the Dark received millions of downloads and won multiple awards, including a Peabody, and won an award last night for News and Public Affairs, right? So congratulations, Samara Freemark. And by the way, if you are a fan of true crime podcasts, things like Serial, absolutely check this out. It's a riveting podcast. I listened to it all the way through, so please check it out. Of course, these are the guys that are going to be critiquing the podcast, but we need the podcasters themselves. And let me say something about this. It takes a lot of bravery to get up here and have your podcast critiqued in front of a room full of strangers. So I have a great deal of respect for these podcasters, mostly because they're doing something that I probably would not do myself. And so I want to welcome them to the stage. We're going to start with the podcasters behind the Engaging Story podcast. We have Matt and Rebecca Munn. And I told these two that we would not actually ask them any questions right at the beginning, because I want everybody in this room to have the same first impression that somebody would if they went into iTunes and started listening to this podcast for the first time. So without any introduction, we are just going to listen to the very first minute of an episode of Engaging Story.
Engaging Story, where the fairy tale ends and real life begins.
How many couples struggle with the fact that they aren't showing emotion in their marriage? And I even get so bold as to say, do you really think you're better than that you don't have to show your emotion?
Love stories with practical ways to strengthen your relationship.
It was that wake-up call. It was her being truthful and honest, because I didn't know there was any issue really there. So had that conversation started much sooner, we wouldn't have been there.
Strengthening your marriage, one story at a time.
I think so often we come with almost sort of a whiny attitude towards God, like, God, I really want this. And yet what I found even writing the book was, I need to take God's word and I need to declare that over my marriage.
Now this is Engaging Story.
I'm Matt.
And this is Becca.
Today's story is with the hosts of the #1
So one of the things that we learned last year when we did this podcast makeover panel is how important that first minute of audio really is. Because it's really in that first minute of audio that you either get sucked in or you decide you're going to go listen to something else. And we heard Tamar Charney talk about that earlier today when she was up here on stage. So I wanted to stop at that first minute mark, which is why we cut it off right there. And I want to go down the panel. And Tom, I want to start with you. So just tell me your first impressions. What were you thinking as you listened to the first? What was working and what did you think could be improved?
Well, something big was working at the introduction, and that is, this podcast told me what it does and what it is. And this is a problem in radio too, by the way, especially talk radio. The personalities going in day in and day out think everybody knows who they are. Everybody knows what their opinion is. Everybody knows the objective of the show. This show was not shy. It explained to me what it is and what it does, so it pulls me in to listen to it. And there are many podcasts that don't do that. They just jump right in, the host says his name, and suddenly we're in the middle of a conversation, and I'm not sure who these people are I'm listening to.
And we should point out, this is not the first podcast episode you guys produced. We just went in and grabbed a later one, right?
Yeah, this is probably about our 10th or so.
So this is something that's important to do every single episode.
Every episode, every show, whoever you are, however well-known you think your podcast is, or however well-known you think you are. The audience, as I've learned from doing radio my whole life, every day new people are hearing you, and they don't know who you are or why you're there. Why should they listen to you, is the question I always ask. And that's what was right about this podcast. It drew me right in because it told me what it was going to do in the first 30 seconds.
All right. And Jan, tell me what your reaction to the first 60 seconds.
Agreed.
Underneath. Or just take Tom's.
How's that?
Yeah, much
Okay,
better.
thanks. Yeah, Yeah, I thought it had a lot of great energy. I liked the back and forth of the male and female voice. That makes it easy to follow the back and forth. And it had good energy, and the snippets were really interesting. So it did give you a sense of what was coming, enough to make you want to listen. So I thought it was great.
Can I ask about that? Because that's very much a public radio technique, is that sort of pull quote, that using a piece from the interview. Either Samara or Richard, tell me a little bit about what you look for when you look for pulling a pull quote out and using it at the top of the episode.
Sure. Well, I also have nothing extra to add to that. Is this on? No.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Oh, I I agree. It was really engaging in the beginning, and it sort of laid out exactly what you guys are doing, and that was great. Do you do this? You do that at the same? You guys use the same tape at the top?
Yeah, we have the same kind of intro. We just find the best clips that we want to put in that kind of convey what the episode's about.
Oh, okay. So it does change with every episode.
Yeah, so the kind of the radio voice in it, that's the same, and then we have a space where we put in our guest audio.
Interesting, because I heard it and I figured that was the same, that you guys use that same tape to start every episode. It sounds like very much like an intro that would always do the same. I think either way could work. But yeah, I mean, the pull quotes were great. I think you look for things that are compelling, that have something to say, that are mixed well. I think you did a good job of that.
And Richard?
Yeah, so it's this
Yeah,
button down here?
We're super pro, right?
The last panel played
Oh,
right.
that's better. Yeah, somebody turned it off. They didn't want people to know what they were saying. I've learned so much from this conference already, and just now from Tom. The idea that you immediately state what your intention is, and what's great about your podcast, is that it's very clear who your audience is. That you projected really clearly to your niche, and you've used these opening sound bites to explain, what of value is coming up. I think, though, one criticism I'd have is be a little bit more provocative in those opening sound bites. Throw something in that maybe will surprise the listener, as opposed to something which might be kind of interesting.
All right, let's take before we take listen to a little bit more, tell me a little bit about yourselves and how the podcast came about, because Matt, you actually work in radio, correct?
Yeah, so I work in radio for a national radio network called K-Love, and then really I started in video, went to radio, and then podcasting and being back behind the microphone. So the whole teasing, the art of the tease, and in radio trying to always get people to listen longer because they're always tuning out to different radio stations. So that's kind of why we did that. And then when I got married to my wife, Becca here, she kind of brings the softer side. So on the technical side, she's the one trying to get those juicy quotes and the good stuff out of our audience. So
I have a background in social work, mental health, and counseling. So I'm used to doing interviews with couples and different people. So it came natural to me to kind of know what kind of questions to look for and to do the story. So